I try not to think about this. Genuinely, I try not to. But it bothers me to think that even my closest friends feel sorry for me after all these years. But maybe I've given them a reason to. Part of me still believes that. It started off as a game. My sister and I lived in a house up in a hill away from the main stores, and I don't remember many things being around us. If we wanted to go to the store, it would mean a 10-minute drive into the shopping centers, and we needed to make lists in order to remember everything, because there was no way we could just walk up to a 7-Eleven or a grocery store like I do now whenever I want to. And there were lists for everything, even as a game. We listed easy things first, colors that we spotted around the room, the types of animals we would see on the way back home, and random things around the house. Lists were everywhere. When the sound of one of my sister's dolls started growing deeper as she giggled and said goodnight when you squeezed its hand, I knew it was time to write down AA batteries on the list. I used to catch things that Mom forgot about too, and whenever I reminded her of them at the store, she would get so happy. And if she was in a good enough mood, I would get to choose an additional thing at the store, just for me. But I made lists for other things too, and come to think of it, I still make lists for almost everything. There are post-it notes stuck by the steering wheel of my car reminding me of my lunch, my wallet, and my phone, and down to more specific reminders, like taking cutlery and napkins and reminders to call Mom. I can't forget to call Mom. It was about to rain that day, and Mom was loading up the little cart we would drag around the grocery store, since this one didn't have the push carts we have now. She reminded me to get my jacket, and I reminded Happy, my sister, to get hers too. That wasn't her name, but she used to call me by a nickname too, so we just stuck with it. Happy. It sounded good. Mom used to roll her eyes whenever she heard it though. I don't think she liked it very much. But it was like a game. Or at least I remember it being that way. And come to think of it, even my therapist now says that I'm blending games with my everyday life. It's funny how it works. Anyway, we got in the car and I helped buckle Happy into the back seat. It was all over the television commercials to use seatbelts, but I don't remember Mom and Dad ever using them or asking me to. But Happy and I were close, and I even used to play that I was her mom. I wanted to take care of her. There I go again with the games, you see? I loved going to the store. I still remember Mark, the man who worked by the meat and dairy section. He would always call me by my name and offer 2 lollipops. I would drag my sister by the hand to go look at the toys, since it also had a school and a toy section. I knew Mom would never buy us toys from there, so we normally walked around pressing the buttons, the ones from the packages that had that "Try Me" sticker right on the front. Though some didn't work, we usually went for the same one. I remember my sister's face when she saw the doll for the first time. It was a baby, with yellow baby clothes and a blue hat. It didn't have a "Try Me" button, but the label said that it had 3 sound effects, just like a real baby. It had an accompanying baby bottle and a rattle, and then in big yellow letters, "Go to sleep, Natalie." That's what I was saving my money for. $6.95, and it would be my gift for my sister Happy, so I didn't want to ask Mom for it. But I only had a few dollars in the piggy bank. Well, it wasn't really a pig, but rather a plastic barrel type of thing that we found in the storage shed. We had a good time cleaning it out the last time. And I remember my dad drilled a hole on it, and not even a slot for coins, but a full-on hole that he made with a noisy drill that same day. I wanted one for my sister too, but Dad insisted that we just share it. Cecilia was the woman that worked by the front of the store, who never really spoke to us but loved to chat with Mom. And whenever she wasn't moving her mouth to speak, she was using it to chew the 2 or 3 pieces of gum she would stick in there at the same time. Dad and I used to joke about it and pretend to be her sometimes. But this time she seemed extra friendly with us and asked what toys we were looking at, and that we better hurry because of some holiday that was coming up and that they would all be gone. I caught up to Mom with my list of things that I thought she had missed, and she shot me that wide smile and pinched my cheek as we walked over to get the flour and other things for my dad's birthday cake. "Pick something that you want," she said to me. But I looked down to Happy, who always stayed quiet during times like these, unable to choose something. "Can we get a doll?" I asked, looking down at my untied shoes. Mom sighed, but instead of saying no in the way that she always did, she asked which one I wanted. I grabbed Happy's hand and ran to the toy section as two other girls with their parents were walking out of that same aisle and toward the cash register. I couldn't tell for sure, but my heart dropped when I saw one of them hugging the box with those yellow letters. I could feel my eyes swell up with tears. All hopes of seeing Happy smile like that went away. Still, we walked over to the toy section, not very hopeful this time. But then, down at the bottom of the shelf, was another one. "Go to Sleep, Natalie." I grabbed it and ran to Mom, a huge smile on my face as I wiped away my tears that somehow managed to slide down my face into my chin. Without looking at it, she sighed again. "All right," she said, and then she let me set it right on the cart. When we got home, I set the doll, the box, and everything right on my dresser by the bed that my sister and I used to share. I told Happy that we would wait until her birthday to open it. Mom walked in one morning before I went to school to place some folded laundry into the drawers of my dresser. She asked me why I hadn't used the doll. "Mom, it's for Happy," I said. "We're waiting for her birthday." Mom rolled her eyes. She grabbed the box and asked me to open it, that I could play with it. I said no, but she placed the box in front of me and told me, "Open it, or we would have to take it back." I couldn't understand, but Mom's stern voice made my eyes swell up again. "It's for Happy," I yelled, and then she turned the box around. Her face went cold when I saw her mouth silently move, as if to read the label of the box. "Go to Sleep, Natalie?" She looked at me and grabbed the box and threw it against the wall. She yelled at me as the cries of the doll seeped out of the box. Mom had never acted this way, not around me. And she told me to stop talking about Happy, that she wasn't there. The doll stopped crying. After a few seconds, it said, "I'm asleep, Mommy. I'm asleep, Mommy."
I'm asleep, Mommy.
Mom's mouth dropped as she wrinkled her nose and started crying. She covered her face with one hand, telling me to fix up the box because we would be returning it. I cried, too afraid to say anything. I walked over to the doll, the box now open from the top. I grabbed it with both hands and sat on the edge of my bed. Mom was staring at me in silence. I looked over to Happy, who was hiding in the corner. I grabbed the doll's exposed hand and squeezed it. I heard it breathing. I squeezed again and I heard it laughing. I squeezed again and I heard it crying. Mom snatched the doll from my hand and squeezed its hand too. We heard the same 3 sets of noises. Breathing, laughing, crying. And despite us both expecting to hear, "I'm asleep, Mommy," just one more time, never happened. Mom cried, squeezing the hand over and over and over again for a while. I remember that I didn't go to school that day. I stayed in my room across from Happy. Her real name, Natalie. Natalie, who wasn't there. When I was old enough, Mom explained to me about what happened to my sister, how she died. How they told me when I was young how Natalie was happy and not in pain, but never told me that Natalie was gone and that Happy wasn't her nickname. I still saw her for a while after that. She used to come in and sit in a corner of the room as if playing with some imaginary toys, not making any noise. And I see her sometimes even now. Mom never returned the doll. It still sits at her house. And every once in a while, she gives the doll a squeeze to hear what it says. She's hoping for the same thing. I'm asleep, Mommy. I'm only asleep. I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea to wake up at 5 in the morning to go out for a run. Obviously, those Instagram and Twitter motivational messages got to me in some way. But now my alarm clock was punishing me for following along with trends. It was my 4th morning like this. One more and I would break into my week straight habit. And then if I kept that going, it might even turn into a real habit, supposedly. And I would feel so much better, I guess. Though I would have felt better sleeping more as well. But my shoes were on, my trail was set on an app that I got, so I figured I might as well go with it. I did my warm-ups and off I went into the darkness of the morning. It wasn't that cold, with winter being behind us now, but still, once sweat started hitting my forehead, I knew that the wind would bring along that icy feeling to it as well. I'd gotten used to seeing some of the same runners out on the trail that I used to do, the simple one. The one I used to do when the sun was completely out, and I thought about going back to it. But it was simply my mind trying to take the path of least resistance, just like those posts said. The trailhead was about a 5-minute walk away from my house, and just by the looks of it, I knew it would be 2 or 3 times as tough. No matter how motivated and pumped up I showed up to the start of the trail, I always seemed to get a small moment of doubt. Part of me knew that if I just got started, I would start feeling a little bit better. So I looked up at the trail with an incline toward the top of the small hill when I saw an older couple walking down up ahead. No offense to them, but if they could do it, well, I could too. So I started running up and they waved at me as I passed them going the other way. It's a normal thing that I didn't know we were supposed to do as runners, but it's nice, to get a good morning from strangers who are all out doing the same thing at those ungodly hours. As I reached the top of the first hill, I felt relief at seeing the mostly flat rest of the trail around a very small valley. It had trees and a view of the rest of the city into the distance. The sun was rising too, just to add to the surprise. But soon, surprises became the last thing I wished for. Up ahead in the trail, I spotted a person coming my way. For a moment, I thought that maybe I started on the wrong spot, since he would be another person going in the opposite direction as me. He was a young guy with dark pants and a white shirt. But what stood out the most were the sunglasses. I used to wear mine when I would leave a little bit later, but not at 5 or 6 in the morning. The sun wasn't even completely out yet. And if anything, those things were a hazard to use in the dark while running. But he was running in silence, looking down at his shoes, then straight ahead. No noise at all. I looked at him as he was about 10 yards in front of me, getting ready to raise my hand to wave at him, but his expression didn't change. He didn't even look my way. I slowed down and moved to the left as he passed by. Some people just get really into it like that and ignore the rest of the world. It was completely normal. But then something else happened, and I still can't shake that off. Up by the next curve, another trail split off into the right, and then I wasn't sure if that was the one I was supposed to take. If you ever hiked or walked around a canyon, you know that a lot of the scenery looks the same, and that some trails can easily be much longer than others, even if you're within the same area. The winding nature of it as you climb or descend into the canyon kind of helps that. The zigzagging through those places are what takes up most of my time out there, so as I was approaching the fork, I stopped to take a look at my phone's map just to double check I was on the right path. And that's when I spotted something else again. A silhouette, a figure moving from the top of one of the trails. I couldn't tell exactly which one it was, but I looked up to the one on the right, then to the left. This thing was apparently off trail. But it was getting closer. I looked through my map app when I saw that the path on the right was the one I was supposed to take, so I put the phone on my arm holder and took 2 steps forward. That's when I saw the figure right in front of me. It was the same young man. He was running down the trail, with his sunglasses laser focused on his path. I came to a near full stop when I saw him. I instinctively raised my arm to wave hello, but he passed again, right next to me, without acknowledging I was there. Now, that's what happened to me, and even though it doesn't seem like a lot, that maybe the person was just a quick runner and somehow managed to take the entire loop and pass me twice in less than 10 minutes. It's possible. But I promise that even I want to believe that. I told some of my friends about the trail running I was doing, and one of them met me at the trailhead one morning. She was a full-on runner, so I was a bit intimidated. When I walked up to her car, she was sitting on the driver's side, staring out into the semi-dark trail, looking like she had just seen a ghost. And from what she told me, I think she might have. And I think I might have too. I got into the passenger side seat, debating whether or not I should ask her about what happened, when suddenly she started speaking on her own. She said that a man, a tall, thin man with a white t-shirt, had come down the path, holding onto the side of his torso as he fell to the ground, in pain. She quickly grabbed onto the inside handle of her door to open it and looked for her cell phone to get help. When she opened the door and stepped outside, she looked up toward the trail and the man was gone. She looked all around the area. The man had vanished completely. We sat there for a while as the sun was rising. She had been Googling for some type of explanation of what she had seen at Jameson Park and managed to find something. The search started off as random internet articles, but soon she managed to find news reports of a man who had died tragically from an injury while out on the trails. But along with those came reports of ghost sightings. We had calmed down by this time, joking around in disbelief when I told her that I had seen him too, that we both had seen the silhouette coming down from the top of the first hill. We both looked at each other, unable to say a single word. I turned my head toward the top of the hill first and saw it. It looked like the same man. His hand was on the side of his torso. His shadow was coming down toward us. My friend started the car and put it on reverse, pulling out into the road. I turned my head toward the driver's side window, raising my shoulders, expecting him to be rushing toward us. My heart was beating loudly against my ear. My friend screamed as she put the car in drive, and I could feel it. I could sense that figure next to us. But I refused to look. We got back on the road. I decided to go for coffee instead.